Welcome back, everyone, to yet another day of our Super Week. We are in week number 7, day number 4 already, even though it's only Saturday. It's a penultimate day of our regular split, and there might still be some implications. We are not sure. Everyone is trying to figure out what's actually happening in the VCS. Weirdly enough, no one knows, so we're just gonna roll with it and see what happens. My name is Yurway. Today, gonna play by play for you, and with me is our lovely guest, Coach Tim. How are you tonight? Today, morning.
I'm I'm great. I mean, depending from where you're watching, it could be any of the three. Great to be here, second time this split, and then for maybe an important day for both servers in Saigon, maybe not. We will see. We will try to figure it out during the day. We thought it was done and dusted because tiebreaker is shifting towards servers, but we still don't know exactly. And on the other hand, we have an opening series that has, I guess, some implications for seeding, especially for Wales, getting win over SPTC and making sure that you can get that second seed. It's very, very important for them, but in the general sense, doesn't give a team playoffs or leaves them out of playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. So we have Flash facing off against Wales in our first series today, and Wales is 4-0 this week. They actually looked super strong. They kind of had a resurgence, especially from the bot side. Looking at the MVP points given out for the first two series, B got a lot of them. He's, I believe, 1 point ahead of Palat, so there's an intricate little MVP race for the support position as well, which is always fun to watch. Two of the former GAM supports, and yesterday, SPDC looked really strong against GAM, so now it's kind of on Wales, another confirmed playoff team, to also instill some fear into their opponents' hearts and maybe say, yeah, SPDC can hang with GAM, but we can too. We are going to go 6-0 in the last week of play, which would be quite impressive. But on the other side, we have Team Flash, who can't make playoffs anymore, but they have been a pleasant surprise. And do you know anything about this Flash team? Do you have a player you really like to watch on this new lineup with some veterans?
I mean, it always has to be Yoshino, no? I mean, this guy is just, he giveth and he taketh away. This guy is just so coin flip when he goes into the game. I still remember him, I think last year also randomly swapping to mid lane, trying to carry his team from mid lane. This guy can do it all, but he can also just not like you and then run you down. So I'm just excited to see what Yoshino is going to show up today, because as you said, they have been a pleasant surprise, and I feel like they can definitely take games of big teams. I mean, for me, definitely the one win against GAM is something to talk about there. They definitely can punch up a bit, but we'll still have to see, because last time those two teams met, it was a pretty clean 2-0 for Team Wales.
Yeah, Flash to me is the definition of a mediocre team, or like middle of the pack team, where they can definitely have some spikes and be dangerous for almost any team. As you just said, they won a game against GAM, 55 minutes. That was an absolute banger. Go back and watch that series. That was some of the most fun we've had. I think the longest game of the whole season globally until later that week in LCK. So it was a very interesting game. And in general, they have the makings of a good team and the makings of the old Flash teams, where they have Yoshino, very good team fighter, very good tank player, very good laner as well in most years. Not so much last year, but better now this year again. And then a very good team fighting ADC in Puddin again. So I feel like this team is only here to improve for the next split. Hopefully in summer can challenge a little bit more upwards, maybe make the playoffs. But if you had to exchange one of the players, I know you're not super familiar with the team, but I want to hear your perspective first, and then I can maybe chime in as well. I like Puddin and Yoshino a lot. Do you see any positions where you really want to make an improvement on the Flash roster?
I mean, I haven't seen too many Flash games this season, but from recent memory, I mean, please don't have Fuguan on any team, honestly. I mean, considering performances from last year, I don't think he should have that spot, especially with other junglers maybe struggling on different teams, or a lot of teams having two junglers. I think there are a decent amount of backup junglers that could do his jobs better. I mean, like when I remember him, he is the I do nothing and watch and then hope my team carries me. And I feel like with the solo laners you have, and the carry, like the raw mechanical prowess you have, you need a Malrang, like somebody who just walks to your lane and just he doesn't farm, he doesn't need to do anything but run at lanes, kill them, and get his laner kills, and then have the mechanics take over. I think that is kind of the playstyle that I see with the players on that roster. Is like, I want to have a jungler that monkey. He can be monkey, but he has to be Malrang monkey, right, where he just runs at lanes.
So Fug1 is very interesting, as he's one of the players that has the most like one-trick kind of profile if you look at his champion pool, because he has 11 games on Viego and actually a really good win rate on the Viego too, 7 wins in 11 games. And then everything else is kind of meh. So as we go into draft, we already see first ban red side on the Viego. So everyone knows about Fug1, and this is a bit of an issue for him because he's way better on the Viego than any other champion. Let's go into draft here. But the Viego gets banned all the time, and his secondary champion, which is Sejuani, 6 games, is now also banned. So Fug1 really has to reach deep in this game and find another jungler. The monkey, you didn't talk about the monkey champion, more of the monkey playstyle, but the monkey champion is banned as well, so he can't even go to Wukong. A lot of jungle bans, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about like both Viego and Sejuani is they excel in that playstyle, right? Like fighting early, going into river, and just fist fighting with people, so they're really nice with the playstyle that your solo laners bring with them. And obviously something like a Vi can do that to a degree, but usually Vi is a champion that I like to see in really good macro teams, because if you play against a good Vi with good macro, it feels so unplayable. Like, she's perma gonna punish you whenever you're overstepping. Any mistake is always a death. Engages are incredibly easy, and once level 6 hits, every lane is always in danger. So I feel like when you're the weaker team, I guess, I don't like Vi too much.
A very important substitution, actually, we haven't talked about because I wasn't aware of this happening. B is now not starting for Wales in this series, which is even more surprising considering his earlier performance this week, and also that this team is literally looking at playoffs next week. So I am very confused to see CBL back in. Of course, I'm personally have always been a little bit of a CBL fan, but compared to B, especially in recent years, you have to side with B here. So maybe it's I mean, this series doesn't mean much for Wales, so maybe they just want to give their substitute a little bit of playtime. I feel like it's the wrong decision, especially looking ahead at playoffs next week. But then again, you could argue maybe they're hiding some of their strats. Do you like the substitution here? I feel like it's a little out of place.
Yeah, I feel like it's really weird, because also comparing Wales from last year to this year, right? Nothing really has changed except for B in the bot lane, and they've looked so much better in macro. Like, Wales was always a team that would go like 3-4k up and then lose the game anyways, because they couldn't play macro whatsoever. And then B comes into the lineup, and I'm not sure if it's only B or if it's maybe the experience that he brought, like teaching the other players also to use their brain more. But it felt like they were actually becoming a good macro team on top of their mechanical skill and their early game abilities, and then made them a really strong contender. And now taking B out, maybe the other players have learned enough and they think CBL is better mechanically or something, but I'm not really sure about that. And I agree, I think he should be in the lineup. But somebody who is in the lineup in the draft is Malphite and Rakan, which means you're not gonna have a fun game on Zeri.
Yeah, that is some engaged potential. Of course, we also Zeri can kind of escape if she plays it correctly, but then again, I feel like the bans here in the top lane covering for counter picks for the Malphite, quite interesting. We have seen Sylas into Malphite, I believe, once in the major regions. It was played in LCK 2 weeks ago or something in one of the playoff matches, and everyone got super hyped to finally see this counter pick. But it hasn't really been present in the VCS, so a little surprising to see this here.
I mean,
Yoshino, of course, has played mid lane, so maybe they're thinking, okay, Yoshino knows mid lane champions, so he might be able to just go Sylas into top lane.
I mean, a lot of mid laners are just ready to blind that Sylas in mid lane as well, right? And then just go in and you have a mid lane Sylas that just gets good ultimates, and especially thinking that you wanted to pick Maokai or Xin Zhao, those are also really good ultimates. So he has 3 really good ultimates in Rakan, Malphite, and Maokai. So taking that out and just making sure the ultimates don't go over. Now we've seen our Ari Hover. If that comes in, it's an old combo of Ari and Vi, which is just good at playmaking, good at forcing kills early, and something that can very easily shut down something like a Maokai, because Maokai, if he doesn't get his W out, is very, very squishy. So I like the combo in itself. it just gives a lot of breathing room down to that Zeri, who obviously needs to scale and will fall behind the Xayah, who is much earlier, much stronger. And now we could see. I mean, I was thinking about Gwen. I think Gwen is insanely good into Malphite and scales really well, but then they end up going for the Sign, which is a
look at that win rate though.
I mean, yeah, I mean Yoshino has been playing tanks a lot and it has been working, so I can't be too unhappy about that. And now we see the Yone coming in as last pick. Maybe he could be going both top and mid, because I don't think Malphite into Ahri shouldn't be too bad of a matchup for the Malphite.
It's locked. Oh, this is spicy. Yone not really interesting champion here. So if we look at Wales' composition as a whole, there's a lot of engaged potential, but then also a Maokai in there. So do you like this assortment of champions? Do you think they work well together? I feel like this is not the easiest you could have rounded out the draft with. Like something like Orianna comes to mind, or just a general mage that just backs up your carries with a little bit more consistent damage. The Yone here is a little bit of a wild card. What do you think about this?
I really like it. I think usually when you have Malphite and Maokai, you kind of need that AD threat in the mid lane, because you don't want to play triple AP on top side. So I like the Yone coming in, and I mean, if he executes decently, he doesn't even have to win lane. Just get to 2 items with your Xayah, and then you have probably 3 of the best CC champions currently in the game, which is Malphite, Maokai, and Rakan. You basically can engage any area, you can control any area. It's completely impossible to walk in. So I think if that Wales comp is anywhere close in gold, it's gonna be a Gumba stomp, because yes, you have a Zeri, and technically Zeri, if she flashes the Malphite ulti, is completely fine in this game, but well, you have a lot of follow-up, and you have a lot of flanking potential, and if Yone comes from the side, if Rakan comes from the side, if Malphite comes from the side, and then Maokai from the front, you're not gonna live wherever you flash, and it's gonna be so impossible to play the game. So I'm excited to see how that pans out, and especially I feel like the Sion could be a bit weaker in this game, because your engage is not gonna come from the front. They're not all gonna run at you from the front. And if they do, Sion obviously has a lot of potential to just peel in this game. But if they flank it all, the Sion is just going to be overrun.
And with that, we are in game number 1. This is Flash's last series of the VCS Spring Split, so we're going to say goodbye to this team. They were a very pleasant surprise in my mind. I thought they would be a pretty low profile, very weak team that would just give out free wins, but instead, they gave us some really exciting series. So with today's series doesn't mean anything for them. They've already locked in the summer split. They don't have to go to relegation, so that's going to go to Team Secret and MBE. So it's just a little bit of a last hurrah for this roster till they go to like a 2-month break. So today is just another opportunity to see Puddin, Sora, Jane, Fook, and Yoshino shine again. And on the other side, of course, Team Wales, they are preparing for playoffs. They're 4-0 this week already in games. Can they make it 6-0 and really strike fear into their opponents in the upcoming playoffs? That's what we're looking at today. The implications are not super high for the series, but I'm still very excited to be here with you. I see a Ghost Xayah. That is new. I don't think I've ever seen a Ghost Xayah in any of the games before.
I mean, it's on hyper carries. It's not so unusual. We've seen
it. Yeah, I see it on Sivir and Jinx,
yeah.
but
you can
Xayah?
you can easily play it on Xayah as well if you want to play hyper carry Xayah, which in this game, like everything else is already given to you, right? You're just gonna have to hyper carry the game. So I think I like it actually. I think it's the right choice here in summon as well, because you don't really need cleanse. Heal is kind of used to summon anyways, and exhaust is not gonna do much for you because Zeri is gonna be out of your range. And then yes, you could exhaust the Ahri, but you can also just ult her and she's useless. So I think neither exhaust nor cleanse are really useful here, and heal is just not a good summon anymore. Like you don't like. Supports can go heal, like Lulu did, but please, like AD carries do not go heal. Like 99% of games, heal is just bad.
Yeah, the problem here with no heal and Ghost into double summoners, like double combat summoners on the other side is, of course, 2v2 is going to be rough, and with Lulu, it's going to be rough anyway. Lulu Zeri usually win level 1 in almost any matchup, as we have a little bit of a clash on the mid lane, and here comes the Yone. That's Jane, only level 2. Flash on top of him, Killer Queen. They got the charm, I think. Jane is trying to scuttle away, barely keeping alive, and now Fook 1 with Stack Conqueror. Can he land the Q? He has Flash as well. Q-Flash? Nope, not quite going for the play. So an early little clash there for all the 2v2s in mid lane. No one dies.
Yep, in the end, only 2 flashes, both the mid lane. No, 3 flashes blown. Maokai flash was blown as well as both mid laners. So small advantage here to Team Flash. And I'm not sure why you would take that early 2v2 because Ari usually has a push early because her Q obviously is very good at shoving out, and Yon doesn't have the power to fight her yet. He kind of needs level 3 to do that, and then on the other hand, Maokai at that point is not as strong as Vi, so not sure why they were fighting in mid lane. I think once level 6 comes in, that 2v2 becomes much easier to play, but they decided to at least cover the gank, and in the end come out scot-free. But now we can see that Killer Queen is in a lot of trouble. He is getting semi-invaded. He had to cancel his blue buff, but in the end just goes back to farming, and now Fu1 should do the same, so nothing really coming out of it.
I wanted to bring up one more stat before we went into the game, but unfortunately there was so much action that I wasn't able to bring it up. So I'll sneak it in right now. Glory has not played a Yona game this split so far. I just checked his stats before we loaded into the game. So he already has like 10 plus champions in his pool. I didn't count because there were a lot of them in his profile. So he likes to play a lot of different champions. We know Glory for very, like, his Silas is amazing. He has some really good mages as well, but some of his assassins are good too. So I'm kind of curious how he's going to do on this AD. I'm not even sure what to call Yona. He's not an assassin. He's like an AD team fighting mid laner.
Yeah, I mean, he can be a split pusher as well, right? He's that
True, yeah.
hybrid kind of champion that, and this game also will hard win both side lanes, especially if he decides to go for a Blade, maybe, to really chunk down Yoshino, so that could be an angle for him. Overall, what this team comp from Team Wedge really reminds me of is what is being picked in LPL for OMG. They like to have those AoE teamfight comps with Yon, with Akali in mid lane, and just really make it unplayable for the entire enemy team. If you're out of position once, they will find you and they will run you down. And I feel like they get so easy for Wedge to do that, and that's why I'm also really hyped on the team comp, because I've seen it work so many times in the past weeks that I just believe that this kind of team comp can work very well.
Speaking of OMG, of course, I'm still hoping for more Rumble, because they have shown how strong this champion is. But for now, unfortunately, we have to just stare at Sion against Malphite top lanes. Or just ignore them, because no one wants to look at that ever in their lives. Understandably so. For a pretty quiet early game, apart from that early scuffle in the 2v2 in mid lane. Where do you think teams should look for early action? Do you think there's some playmaking potential now that Glory has hit level 6? Jane is also level 6, so both mid laners, who are quite strong in early skirmishes, are looking now for their next opportunity. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially through mid lane. I think on mid lane, yes, you can always fight, but especially Ari and Yona, two champions that like to move to side lanes and like to get out of mid lane. So what I want from both junglers now, especially if Fu1 should be hitting level 6 on that Raptor camp, get your level 6, go mid lane. Your Ari is going to get pushed now because Yona's on a late reset. Walk bot and make sure that you punish the missing ultis on Team Wild side, because they should be able to just zone them off turret, even if Maokai is there, because they have that mid priority, and that would be a really nice play. Then go into Drake, but it's looking like, no, they hate level 6. Okay, it's fine. We just hate level 6s. That's okay as well. But they can still go for Drake. I mean, Ari should get prior, especially since there is no flash still for Glory, which is of course much worse for the Yon than for the Ari, just because Ari has her ultimate now, so she's always fine. But Yon can easily be locked down by Vi and Ari.
Yeah, so far it seems like both teams are pretty content. Not really going for many plays. 8 minutes is quickly approaching, and that's of course when Rift Herald spawns. So, ooh, nice little sidestep there from Glory. Unfortunately, he can't hit a single of his own Qs, so both of them just looking at each other, not hitting a single spell, and both walk away with almost full HP. So yeah, a little bit of a mid lane, I'm not entirely sure how to call it, just showing the spells, a tutorial show maybe, but not landing any of the spells. So now it's a little bit of bot priority for Team Flash. They will walk away with the first dragon, which is a very nice one for the laning phase, of course, early, especially for tanks in the top lane with the extra regeneration. Always nice to see. But both teams just playing a very quiet early game, and Team Flash just able to stand up in lanes to one of the playoff teams. It's always good to see individual players be on the same level as our playoff contenders. So it's definitely not the laning phase that's the issue here for Flash so far in this game.
Absolutely not. And I think with the champions that you have and the power level that you have, you should be able to secure the Herald as well. Because you still have that threat with Ahri in mid lane, who probably has to take a reset soon, though. She doesn't have the most mana. Maybe blue buff is going to be given over to her, but Killer Queen, very nice. Like, this blue buff now has to be smited. He's actually smiting it away and engaging.
That should be a first kill. Fook in a lot of trouble, and that's a kill over to Glory. He finally found his first kill. And this is on the top side of the map in the enemy jungle, so you know what? There's a nice little objective as a bonus after that first kill. So that's first blood, that's a steal on the blue buff, and the Herald going over to Team Wales. They strike first in this game, 8 minutes in.
And it's just a massive mistake here from Fook 1. He shouldn't have gone for the blue buff, seeing that it is mid lane and doesn't have mana. Because now he had TP back up, he just goes back, while in bot lane there's a fight going on.
So trying to walk away, and he actually gets to level 6 off one dying minion. So now it's actually Team Flash with a huge advantage. Sora's ultimate's still available, and Team Wales took way too long on the top side. Now Jane is back. There's Fook 1. He respawned and ran straight to the fight, so they give up another kill, and they can't collect their objective either. So they kill the Herald, but they can't pick up the Eye. And in the end, it's a 1-for-1 trade on the top side.
I'm pretty sure Ahri stole it.
Oh, did she? I need to see
the replay. I think I
saw
saw the pop-up, like, coming in. Ahri stole the Elder Drake, yeah, the Herald. But yeah, I mean, like, Jane did have his TP back up, which meant that he could rejoin quickly. That's what I meant. What Fook 1 was doing, the massive mistake, and here we can see it again. Okay.
Please, observers, please stop. Yeah, Ahri actually got that. That is such a huge swing now for Wales. Took way too long to take this objective. How were they so delayed on this objective?
I mean, they do it pretty slowly. I mean, they don't really have any damage, especially if Yon isn't hitting it. And with the ice in the early game, it isn't too much damage. So I guess they just took too long, and in the end, they get punished for it. And I mean, we don't want to see top lane, but neither top laner does want to see top lane either, I feel like.
Look at them just clearing minions, walking away from each other. I love tank matchups. They are so stupid.
Oh, man. Well, we can see a small invade coming in from Killer Queen. It is the Maokai DNA. You want to always look for those small invades. Just get the Raptor camp, get maybe the Grom, and get out again. But it doesn't seem like he's trying to get out. It does seem like he's zoning Zora still from bot lane. So they can get something done there.
Still only 1-1 in kills, but now Team Flash actually with a really decent chance to advance the game in their favor. Jane got the first kill, already has an item, so he is very, very scary to fight. If anyone oversteps, especially looking at Glory, he can charm, follow up, then another CC. And now 2 platings only left on this tower. He already used the Rift Hull to get some platings for himself, so that's a lot of gold funneled into this Ahri. She's off to a great start and should be able to dominate the mid game, where of course Ahri shines the most. So yeah, you can see Jane in full control in the mid lane, slightly behind in CS, probably because he roamed towards that objective, but it's also good to see that Glory is able to just get all the minions and scale into the later stages of the game, where Yone, of course, will come into his own. You talked about him being a good split pusher, and I feel like in this game, if he ever gets to a good item break point, no one can really answer him in the side lane, can they?
No, absolutely not. I mean, unironically, one of the best people is probably put in on that Zeri, because Zeri, obviously, with a lot of mobility, as long as the ulti doesn't hit her, she's fine, but in the end, she's just an AD carry, so she's going to be under-leveled. She's not going to be really able to step up. On the other hand, Ahri can maybe one-shot waves, and Cyan can tank him for a decent amount of time, but none of those 3 can even think about facing him in 1v1. So I'm not sure how they're going to figure that out, but obviously they do have the possibility to just go in with Vi whenever the Yon is going towards the side lane.
I have to say, every time I see CBL try to land W on Putin, I'm twitching a bit, because that looks strange to me. I have no idea why he thinks he can do that, but in the end he can always E out, so it's not a big yikes. Okay, the communication between these 2 players doesn't look that amazing. I mean he's a substitute, right? So
yeah, I mean if maybe be like is ill or something, and if he is, give this man some ibuprofen and get him in here, because they need him. I mean, the rotations also from CBL didn't look great. I think he could have been out of lane a lot more because he should be out roaming the Lulu. Lulu, of course, wants to stay with the AD carry, while the Rakan actually wants to get out of lane, and Xayah just gets free solo waves the entire time when she's being pushed in. But now we see a 5v5 here at the Drake, and it should be Yoshino going in first.
Both tanks positioned interestingly. Yoshino tanking that one up. Everyone hiding behind the Malphite. The Sion, of course, but there's the engaged. Malphite finally in. There's Yona into the backline. Lori doesn't have the damage to go in alone. He goes out again, but that's one kill already over to Team Wales. Now Flash on the chase. Jane is ready to go, but good dodge there by Killer Queen. That's Sion going dangerously low. Vid is still full HP, and it seems like Wales have comprehensively outplayed Flash on this team fight, get the dragon, force them away, even get a kill to their name, so Wales back in control of the game. They can even get a few platings here in the mid lane, better inside track towards this tower, so everything going Team Wales' way.
I'm surprised that they won that team fight. They shouldn't have. I mean, the Malphite just ulted Vi, and he didn't even knock up because Vi timed her ultimate in a way where he didn't even knock up her. But in the end, it turns out fine for them. Nobody really dies, and again, they shouldn't be 5 men from the front. Yon should be on the side. The Rakan should be on the side, because we can see that Rakan tried to go in, got queued, got killed, was completely useless the entire fight. So if he's just over the wall, flashing in, for example, from the side or something, he could be so much more useful. He has to find those flanks, and he can't come from the front, and the same is kind of true for that Yon. And then the team fight would have been, I guess, a bigger stomp for either side, with Team Flash probably just getting overrun.
Yeah, I feel like Yona actually caused everyone to panic in the backline, because they saw Yona jump into like 3 or 4 people in the backline, and they probably had some trauma from solo queue where the Yona has 4 items and actually just one-shots everyone, but this Yona doesn't even have 1 item, so he just looked scary but didn't actually do anything, and everyone was kind of scattering around the Yona and didn't really help out their tank in the front line, didn't really play properly front to back, so in the end Flash just looking a little bit lost in that fight, and that's a good little comeback from Wales. They equalize the Dragon score, and I mean the gold is still super even. Looking at the items, I think the biggest difference is still in the mid lane here.
Yeah, I mean mid lane definitely is a difference. I'm expecting that the first item should come in soon, just from gold that he should have. But in the end, I'm not sure. Team Flash has to find better angles, and Zeri has to get items. I think what is pretty clear in the last team fight that if you come from front like that and the Zeri has 3 items, you just lose instantly, right? But on 1 item they can still do this, and again, they're 5 men from the front. That's not how they wanted to play team fights.
They can steal this one away. Yep, there's another seal on the Rift Herald. This Sign does not take any damage though. Now Fook 1 looking for an angle. Good block for Nagia though. Very nice positioning on the top side of the fight, so no one could really go into the backline. Both teams just running at each other, and Team Wales once again snuck away the objective. Wales just getting away with murder here. Back-to-back team fights.
Yep. One thing. Now taking the mid turret, obviously,
Risky.
And engage.
There's Fook 1 in the backline. He went very far though, but look at all the damage from Flash. Oh, there goes Laurie. He's super low too. All the health bars looking really scary from the side of Wales this time, and Flash have found the angle. They found some of the kills, and they will now be able to punish with at least 1 tower. Vid needs to be careful. He does have the ultimate to walk away, but he still has to escape. So 1 tower back to Flash, and they win the next team fight. It's back and forth in this game.
And it's all because Vid's itemization is questionable. I really don't like Gale Force in this game. I think you have to be you have to know that you're the threat level of enemy team. Yes, Gale Force is gonna help you against the champ, for example, but nobody is killing Yoshino, and he's not gonna die until 3-4 items into this game. And that just means he can do whatever he wants, like running at the Rakan and just punishing permanently. And Vid, he's perma-hitting, but he's doing 127 damage to this to the Sign when he crits.
Yeah, that's
good luck
pitiful.
killing that guy.
That is pitiful damage. I mean, they kind of need to rely on Glory to also deal a little bit of damage. Right now, he's weirdly far behind in itemization, because his items are so expensive, and he went for early boots as well, so he's kind of lacking that mythic power spike.
Yeah, like Vit is legit not gonna kill anybody for such a long time, and on the other hand, Putin can just free skate into this game, and that's a big issue. Of course, going with the Gayfos Xayah into the Cyan specifically in the matchup, because this Cyan is a complete monster. Now we see 3-0 on the Ari with 3 platings in mid lane on top of that, so that's another 2.5 kills, 1.5 kills, which just means that she's basically 5 to 6-0. And that shows in items now, and she's gonna deal so much damage, have so much threat onto Vid, and the Gayfos is not really gonna save him there.
Let's see how he does when he has a second item, because that is usually the biggest power spike, right, for Xayah. When she finishes her Navori, she's gonna be quite strong, especially compared to Zeri, who usually likes 3 items to really come together. So there might be a little bit of an opening for Wales. I'm a little bit surprised as how little impact Nagia has had in these team fights. This Malphite has looked insanely strong in some games, and then this game it kind of looks just inferior to the Cyan, who has so much more HP to work with and just stands in front of everyone and tanks. But as you said earlier, they're also not making use of their flank potential at all. They're just running at them in 5 for 5, and that's really not the way you want to play the Yone. But there goes the Malphite. That's a huge ultimate. Can they eliminate the Ari? Ari's dead. Zeri is dead as well. They found the engage, and now Yoshino in trouble, even though he's so tanky. Look at the non-damage from Vid. He might be able to kill him in 20 auto attacks. There goes another one, and he finally gets the kill. That's Dragon on the board for Wales as well. Three kills for 0. Dragon, and that's a huge one. That's the Mountain Dragon. That's gonna make both of their tanks so much stronger, but they get the tower as well, and Wales found the angle. What an amazing engage from Nagia.
And he took that personally.
Yeah, he did.
He's saying he didn't really have impact. Hits 3-man ultimate
what
onto
a
both
bouncing
carries and the Cyan, and then you're not getting out of that CC ever. And that's a huge mistake here from Team Flash, walking in, being stacked. You should never have both of the carries on the same spot, and you should give that ultimate over, obviously. But great play from Nagia as well, making sure that it's a short ultimate with the flash as well, and getting in.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. The combo of the ultimates also not staggering the CC correctly, not all hitting at the same time. It was Malphite ultimate into Rakan engage, and then Glory's ultimate hit everyone as well. And meanwhile, Vid was able to accumulate all the feathers. He didn't even have the Navori at that time, so it's only gonna get worse. And finally, I think Wales have found. I mean, even though the gold is still very close, I feel like Wales has finally found the momentum in the game and are now in a dominant position. Also cracking open that mid tower, equalizing mid tier 1 will give them so much priority over the next few dragons. And Wales, we know, are really good at team fighting. So I feel like they finally found that feeling, that team fighting mojo that will put them ahead in this game.
Yeah, absolutely, but the problem that they have still is that teamfight can easily be lost when Zeri hits those 2.5, 3 items if you don't lock her down. And again, it was a front to back teamfight. It was a great ultimate from Nagia, but it was also Puddin not flashing, Jane not flashing, right? They both just didn't expect the ultimate whatsoever and didn't flash out, so it was a huge mistake from enemy team as well, and you shouldn't rely on that twice. But you don't have to if you send your Rakan on the flank, if you send your Yon on the flank, and that's what we have to see, them being able to not front to back this, but being able to just shut down Puddin by having those flanks, and then also making it much easier for Nagia, because if they both have to always look out for the sides, then it.
Yoshino just in no man's land, but Killer Queen on the other side and a little bit of trouble. He gets the engage, and that's Ari completely overextended on the other side now. Glory needs to be careful not to overextend, but they really nice focus, just getting rid of the stragglers on the side, not actually caring too much about Puddin and Yoshino. They're trying to get back in. They're Puddin only on 2 items. Can he do anything? They're trying to chase them down. I've Puddin oversteps. Yep, there he goes. There's the W, and Puddin completely out of... Puddin really misplayed his cards there. Really good counter engage, and now that's Baron. There's no jungler on the other enemy team. Team Wales running away with this game.
And I have no idea what Fuk 1 was doing in that fight, because... to be honest, like, Yoshino sent it down mid lane. How are you not following the top lane? How are you on the side of the fight? And I want to see a replay of that, because they completely split focus. They wanted to get into Vit, they wanted to get into Killer Queen at the same time. They didn't know where to go. Jane was going with Fuk 1, but was completely caught out of position because of it. And I'm not sure what they were doing or if they were communicating at all.
What I really like about this game from Wales is how quickly they are able to call out targets that are slightly out of position, especially Jane in the last 2 fights. Remember, this Ari was 3-0, 2 items completed, really far ahead. And now back-to-back team fights where she's just been caught on the side, and you think about Ari as a champion, so mobile, so hard to catch, but with the likes of the Twisted Advance, well, you can just lock her down for a second or two and she dies instantly. So really good target calling for Wales, really good CC call as well to just get rid of 1 or 2 targets and instantly win the team fight through this very good chaining of CC.
Yeah, absolutely. They play out their comp to a good degree. And I mean, so far it's working perfectly for them. And they take the overextensions, they take the mistakes from Team Flash as they are presented and do it perfectly at that. So you can't really blame them for... I mean, you can't really say, well, Team Flash is misplaying it, so they aren't playing well. You still have to catch the rundown, right? So I think they're doing that perfectly, and now we can see the map control really swinging to their side. They're playing 2 lanes. They want to stay grouped up, so playing 3 lanes, even though they have that split push threat with Glory, doesn't really make sense because they want to be a grouped unit right now. They win any team fight, and now Yoshino might be the target. Once the circuit goes
no
down,
one is interested in hitting Yoshino, because that's not very fun.
Yoshino's probably at this point tankier than the turret is.
Very, very true, yeah.
And probably hits as hard, which is the disgusting part with the Sion, of course. And now that tankular items are coming in for Vid as well, he was supercharged his third item so fast that it didn't end up measuring that he went for the Gale Force. Now he can kill Yoshino for sure, and Yoshino is just looking at this team being like, what the fuck did you do, guys? Sorry. Bad word.
It's alright. Yoshino feels a little bit left alone, and that's the issue when you play a lot of tanks. I mean, he has been very successful, even historically. Back in Flash in 2020, he was the big tank player and the best tank player at that. They are trying to attack the rock, but here's ultimate. Wow, that is Fook going into Narnia, just following the rock under tower. That was a pretty desperate call for Flash. They can't make it work against Nagia, who you had to use his flash and ultimate though. But look at the damage he's destroying! Oh my god, Fook 1 got absolutely destroyed by Nagia. Now the big scary rock is on the chase. They need to get out of here, but look at Team Wales, they're collapsing, they're trying to round them out, they're trying to corral them under the tower. CBL is here, can he initiate the engage? Two people are left under tower. Uh-oh, Killer Queen is here. I think Fook 1 and Sora know their fates. There goes one, there goes the other. 2 kills back to Team Wales. They also get the dragon. So this game looks almost done and dusted.
I mean, it should be absolutely over. We're now at the 7k gold lead with a great engage comp that can just play out their potential so well. And you talked about Yoshino and his potential. I think that if you're playing against this and seeing game 1, I think Yoshino needs to go in the carry champion. Like Gwen, for example. Really punish Nagia in top lane. Make sure that he is as miserable as possible. And then play against those low-range team comps with the carry. Because we can see it, like, he's not taking
Look at the
much
healing,
damage,
though.
He's not taking much damage, but like,
really
he's also not doing anything, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the Sion thing. Sion can be
Yeah.
ignored for the most part because he's just a big wall of meat. He doesn't really do much. The CC is very slow. He's very sluggish to do anything against the enemy carries, especially against something like Yona and Isaiah, who can really just walk past him. Here he comes, the train. He hits a rock and nothing happens, but Team Flash is trying to isolate Nagia. Nagia actually going down low, but here's the counter engage. There comes the first kill for Zaya. Glory needs to disengage and put in on the side. Put in now with the chance to carry. He has his ultimate running, tries to get on top of Vid, and Vid actually in a lot of trouble. CBL trying to help him, and ooh, the flash from put in, but that's a huge feather call. Glory really trying to make his presence known. On the other side, Yoshino still not taking any damage, but actually healing Glory through all the lifesteal. What is going on in the fight? It's still going. There's the ultimate for Killer Queen again. Everyone needs to duck behind Yoshino, who's still half HP, but Glory has found his way into the backline, and now CBL. It's a mess on the rift, but Killer Queen is slowly chasing down the targets as he's another huge tank threat, and in the end, Wales walk away with another victory in the team fight.
Yeah, but I think this team fight really showed what Team Flash's comp can do if Team Wales is just caught front to back, right? Like, it was like Yoshino didn't take any damage. Like, he was hit, 20, 30 times by Glory, didn't care at all. And on the other hand, Putin dealing a lot of damage on his own, but not really being able to kill Vit in the end. And that meant the team fight was still a loss. But I think it's acceptable loss. It was the best case scenario for the side of Team Flash. I really wanted to force that team fight and get something out of it. But in the end, they lose Flash on the AD carry, they lose Cleanse on the AD carry, and now for the next Drake, it's not going to be easy for Putin to carry, even though he has, I think, finished the third item now.
This Puddin really tried hard to get there. Oh, CBL actually completely out of position. Gets caught by Fook1. Dragon in 2 minutes. Baron is up in 20 seconds. I don't think 1 kill on the support is enough to force the Baron for Flash. It could be risky because Nagi has his ultimate again and Killer Queen is here as well. So I don't think they're going to go for the Baron. Or maybe. I mean, they are very far behind.
I think they should. I mean, it's a desperation Baron, no questions about it.
If it works, it's a lot of gold back to them, so...
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why they should do it, and they can force a teamfight here, and it's one less threat, of course, onto Putin, who has a chance to actually play the teamfight without Rakan existing.
Here comes Wales. They have really strong engage as well, and the Team Flash have to clump together to take this Baron. Look at Yoshino trying to buy time, but oh, Putin gets caught, and Putin is instantly obliterated. No, he's not actually dead. Now he goes down, and that is really all she wrote for the game. Really good engage this time from Glory. He finds the follow-up onto Nagi, and this combo of the Malphite and Yona ultimate together looks so potent, especially when the enemy carries can't flash away from the initial engage. Really nicely played for Wales. Flash, they tried the desperate call. They really tried to make it work. They needed the Baron. They needed the shutdown on the objective bounties, but unfortunately, staying together around the Baron also opened them up for an engage, and that's all Team Wales wants to do.
Yeah, and I think it would have been the angle where you have to play more aggressive, where you have to step up more aggressively, because at this point the teamfight is lost. You have to be the first one to go in. You have to put down the pressure and make sure that the Malphite is taking a lot of damage before he even can ult. But again, without the flash on Putin, it's so impossible to play. And now moving on to the Drake, it's going to be another desperation call. You have no ultimate on Putin. You have no ultimate on Jane. You have no ultimate on Yoshino. Good luck, have fun. You're not going to play the game because Malphite ultis up and Yona ultis up.
Look at that Yona build as well before we go into the Dragon. That Yona is a tank as well, and especially looking at the 3 Mountain Drakes potentially on him. That is an interesting little voice there. Yoshino getting called back to his team, I'd say. Yeah, the other team can just go for the Dragon for free, but it looks like Team Wales is trying to orchestrate some weird little call, maybe a base race. Instead, now Team Wales, the desperation call, as Tim said, is in full effect, but Fook1 very isolated. Only Yoshino near him, as his carries don't want to step up into this super scary engage composition. Dragon down to 3.4k, and here comes Wales. They don't want to lose this to a flip. They can just force the fight. Where's Nagia's ultimate? There comes the engage, and Killer Queen on the hunt. Everyone on Yoshino. Yoshino completely isolated, goes down to the super low HP, and there's the soul. Fook1 will die quickly as well. And look at Pudding, he hasn't really auto-attacked anyone. And here's the engage, he still gets hit, and everyone instantly annihilated. The Wales just too strong in these team fights, and what a lovely comp. So much agency. Nice little sidestep from Vit, and Team Wales will just run it down bot lane and finish the game. Or maybe even involve the mid lane as Nagia's, or wow, Vit's damage is respectable as well. Just one-shots Jane, who once again fails to make use of his flash, but in the end, Team Flash as a whole not able to stand up to this engage composition from Wales, and Wales will go 5-0 on the week.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a really clean game, and it was pretty obvious how playable teamfights were without Flash for Putin, right? I mean, he couldn't really play the teamfights whatsoever. Flash ulti from Nagia, once again to lock him down, make sure that he dies, and then always a follow-up from Glory. They knew what their target was, and somehow they always managed to find it, even in the front to back. So, good job for Nagia here as well. I think he had a really good game on the Malphite. I think you really were like, yep, the Malphite didn't do anything, and after that, he basically solo carried every teamfight.
It's true, yeah. I counter-cursed him. The caster blessing.
Yeah, the caster blessing. Also, I feel like the one team fight in mid lane where they actually forced Nagia's ultimate and then chased him down mid lane. I think Team Flash showed what they can do if that one ultimate doesn't exist and the AD carry is actually allowed to play the game at all. But in the end, also, I mean, I don't want to be the guy to say that I was kind of right about Fook 1, but can we get another jungler in here? But because he was sprinting it. I mean, he didn't do anything, and then he ran it down.
Yeah, that was first pick Vi, if I remember correctly, so
Yeah.
really not having any impact. I really like the Maokais I'm seeing. Maokai was kind of out of the meta, at least in VCS for a while, after being insanely strong in the early patches, and everyone forgot about Tank Maokai being a thing as well, after AP Maokai getting nerfed. Now, these games where Tank Maokai just team fights look so insanely strong to me. Yesterday we had a game where Maokai just was completely unkillable. He was really strong again this game. So I'm really liking Maokai's chances for the VCS players and, of course, the rest of this week. But Wales off to, well, I wouldn't say the perfect start. The early game looked a little bit back and forth. Like, it wasn't super clean, but in the end, they looked like the way better team, especially in terms of coordination. And their team fighting looked crisp, looked clean, looked exactly like a play of team is supposed to play, right?
Yeah, I mean the team fights definitely were the strong point. I think where they were still missing was the macro. I think that was really missing, especially in early game when Team Flash was still on even footing. It showed really heavily that they were completely out rotated on the map, and it wasn't even like Flash had the best rotations in the world. They weren't SKT just running you over, right? They still had mistakes that could have been punished, but um, there was no contest. Rakan wasn't moved out of lane, so that's still why I want to see B back in the lineup, because I think he can really bring that, especially support rotations, to the lineup.
Yep.
Because even in the later stages, the macro was basically we walk at objective and we win team fights. Good job. I mean that's really not hard. They didn't really play side lanes with glory whatsoever. They didn't like there wasn't every situation where Team Flash was under pressure where their sign needed to drop waves to be at an objective because glory put the pressure on the side lane. There wasn't anything like that. So yes, team fights, they played really well, but if Team Flash actually had played or really challenged them on the macro or in the team fight side, it could have been a really hard game because their macro really wasn't on point.
Okay, so for game number 2, we want to examine Team Wales macro. Let's see if B is back in or if CBL gets to play the whole series. Team Flash is now 5-0 on the week. Can they make it a perfect 6-0 heading into playoffs? We're going to see next game, because for now, we're going to go into this short little break, about 7.5 minutes. See you on the other side for yet another Flash against Wales game. Welcome back, everyone, to the confusing series here, as we are figuring out our playoffs implication and have changes every single minute. So we are just gonna ignore them. Just be aware that it's very likely that tiebreakers happen with the new rulings, but who knows? Maybe the rules change tomorrow again. So let's just ignore them for now. We're gonna talk about them tomorrow, and if tiebreakers are confirmed, because then we don't actually lie to you. So for now, focus on this series. We have Team Wales through late game team fighting, or maybe let's call it mid game team fighting, stomping Flash to the ground after a contested early game. Tim, what does Team Flash do differently, or what can they do differently potentially to make it a little bit closer in the team fights? What kind of champions are you looking at? What players do you think have to improve the most?
I don't think you can win teamfights against Wales. I think that the way you have to play this is abuse that Wales obviously isn't on point right now with their early game, and build a gold lead, and with that win the teamfight. Like, you can win teamfights, you just have to beat Wales up with your big bag of gold. And I think that should be the goal here for the side. And for that, Fug1 has to start actually playing instead of just watching. Because right now I feel like we contributed more to the game than he did, and that's not cutting it. I am not sure how you make him. Maybe just give him Javan and tell him to never take a camp. I think that could be an angle here. But I again, and Yoshino I think should get a playmaker. Yes, you had successful tanks, but Nagia is just gonna do the tank role just as well. And I think Yoshino should be able to beat Nagia.
Ooh, that is a spicy take. That is a spicy take.
Especially now. I mean, like,
okay.
Nagia,
This is something I have to.
No. If Nagia has a counter pick, fair enough. But if you blind pick Malphite and leave Gwen open, and you tell me that Yoshino can't beat Nagia with Gwen into Malphite, then there's no way Flash wins a game. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I have to tell you, because you were on the VCS a lot last year, and we had a very different situation in the top lane last year. Nagia, through MVP points and my personal opinion, is probably right now the best top laner in the league. So don't underestimate Mr. Nagia. He's very, very good right now.
Fair enough. When you blind pick Malphite and leave like every Malphite counter open,
yeah,
and
I
none
agree
of
with
them
that.
are picked,
I agree with that.
I'm thinking that, like,
Where's my
it doesn't
Rumble?
really matter. I feel like there would be like one or two top laners in the league that even with counter pick, Nagia would just clap anyways. But I feel like Yoshino is good enough to get a counter pick and then walk over Nagia.
Well, let's see what the teams make of this, because we have swapped sides, of course, and I really like to see that Wales just continue to ban all the good champions from Fug1, because as we said in game number 1, Fug1 kind of a Viego 1 trick, and actually a really good Viego player too. Very good win rate on that champion, but everything else, So let's see what he can do here. Xayah first pick, back to that on 13.6. Not my favorite first pick, I have to say, even though I like the champion personally. I think on 13.6 she might not be first pick worthy anymore, especially when you can...
I mean, it's still the strongest ADC, probably. So I don't take the pick. And now answer should be, I feel like Rakan Cho'Gath. I think Cho'Gath is really underrated.
XD.
I think Cho'Gath is probably one of the strongest champions in the game currently. It's an easy triple flex. You can play it.
Okay, Mr. LS. Let's be real here.
And AD carry. And yeah, I think
we have a substitution we need to talk about, because one of the supports changed, and it's not the support we thought would change. It's still CBL in for Wales. It's actually TQ with his second game on stage for Team Flash. So yeah, let's see. Last game of the season potentially for Team Flash, and they want to give TQ another game, which I don't hate. Sora is alright, but if you can develop another support talent, maybe that's the angle to improve your team. We have Zeri once again for Puddin, and on the other side, Xayah, Nautilus. So bot lanes are a little bit boring. Let's see what the solo laners can bring to the table.
Yep, absolutely. And another question is, do you blind pick top again, or is it just jungle? And this time Lee Sin is open. Oh, no, we're not picking Kha'Zix, thank you. And we're locking in Lee Sin. And it's just Killer Queen Lee Sin, nothing too surprising. He's a monster on that champion, and if Fug1 doesn't find a good answer, but by the way, there is a really good answer for Fug1 here. Why really isn't it? Have you thought about Poppy? It's really good in early game. It beats Lee Sin in early game. It is good into Nautilus. It is easy, and we picked Vi, and Fuk1 is just going to be useless again.
It might end up being like that, yeah. Vi down to 36% win rate here as well. Not doing too well in the VCS. We have some really interesting win rate aberrations in the VCS. For example, Gragas is doing horribly over here. Lucian Army is doing even worse than Gragas. Vi apparently also a struggling champion. And then Wukong is sitting on 80% win rate. So it's really showing the style the VCS teams like to go for. And then also showing the propensity of some of our good players like Levi to just gravitate towards those kind of champions. Looking at Fuchs champion pool, that's the 7th game of Vi now, so it's actually overtaking his Sejuani for second most played. His win rate before the series was 40%, so 2 out of 5. He added another loss, so he's now 2 out of 6. It's not looking great for him either.
I mean, like, I can understand why Vi has such a low win rate, because VCS teams outside of maybe the top 2, top 3, really aren't macro geniuses. Like, VCS is known for their propensity to fight a lot and be mechanically really, really strong, right? And Vi really doesn't support that playstyle. Vi has about 0 mechanical outplay potential, and all you do is press R. And if you press R at the right times, you're insane. And if you press R at the wrong times, you're useless. And more often than not, sadly, that especially lower table VCS teams press R at the exactly wrong times. And I would love the Vega pickup here, because it's still not nerfed, and it could really add zone control. Same, of course, for Cassio. Cassio also has the same zone control, can just make sure that champions like Rakan, like the Vi, can't engage as easily.
And we see Casanti for Nagia, which is one of my personal favorites, because he had some unbelievably insane games at the start of the split, where they actually lost every game, but he got like 4-5-0, 4 to 5 solo kills, and then his bot lane griefed him. So I hope he can improve his Casanti win rate, because it looks bad on paper, but the games he has played in Casanti were all insane. So definitely one of the, I think, the best Casanti in the league. The whole composition for Wales, looking at this, is a bit strange, very short-ranged, and into the likes of Zeri and Talia, there are potentially some risks involved in this composition. Where do you land on this Wales composition? I feel like they've drafted themselves into a little bit of a difficult position here.
I feel like they looked at every lane and were like, "Yep, we want counter picks," and then they ended up with the two at the. Oh my god, that is funny. Anyways, they ended up picking like counter picks in the first rotation and just champions they were comfortable with, and then they went into the second rotation and were like, "Yeah, we need to fix our team comp," and it's like, what is good into engage, and then they picked Cassiopeia, and then they realized, well, Vi and Rakan don't have to engage here. Like they just look and let Talia and let Gwen now play, let Zeri now play, and just build space for them, and it's gonna become really hard. And like, yeah, of course, with the K'Sante, can always go for the flanks, can always look for the backline, but it's not gonna be an easy game. But I think they're so much better than Flash at execution in team fights that they should still win.
And I like your theory. They don't have to engage. The problem is the only team in the VCS that has ever been able to restrain themselves from engaging is GAM. So, because it's not GAM playing, they are going to engage. That Vi is going to run into them like crazy, and the Rakan is just going to go for engages all the time. As we head into Rift, I predict Team Flash to overextend on in these team fights all the time. I'm sorry to tell you.
Yes, but Fuk1 is so good at just watching the game that I believe he's not gonna engage.
That's the angle. Okay, I see.
He's that bad that he, you know, like it's a curve, you know, like first you engage, then you become better, and then you become worse. You don't engage, and at some point you're that bad that you engage again. But he's in that hole where he doesn't engage because he's too bad. So I believe that he can do it. Of course, but yeah, I mean, if they get the angle, if they get the Gwen flank, Gwen is Goomba champion here. The only champion that can really stand up to her is Cassiopeia. But
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the Gwen, because you wanted the Gwen for Yoshino even last game, right? Into the tank matchup. Now, against Cassante, it's still a good matchup, but not quite as dominant as into the Malphite, especially early on, right? The Gwen will outscale the Cassante in the 1-1, but early in the game, the Cassante can kind of fight back. Where do you think, what is the win condition here for Yoshino on the Gwen? Will he just chill in side lanes and then join teamfights later, or does he actually impact the game early on?
I think once he hits 1 to 2 items, he's an absolute monster. I mean, granted, against low range comps is usually something that you really want to avoid as a short range comp, right? Like, short range comps just get completely clapped. And in this case, I think Yoshino has a pretty easy job, except for Cassiopeia. She can, of course, run down the Gwen. So whenever Cassiopeia has her miasma out, I think it's time for Gwen to go in and to just 1v5 every team fight, because I think that's how strong this champion is currently, and that's what he can do if he hits those 2 items.
Alright, let's see if he can do it. Had a decent game on the Sion, but in the end, it's Sion. So now a much more interesting champion. Gwen for Yoshino. Definitely one of the carries he has added to his pool. And all of our famous top laners, I feel like, can play Gwen rather well. It's one of Hasmut's best champions. It's definitely one of... Kiaya can play the Gwen as well, even though maybe not the best champion for Kiaya. But Yoshino also a prolific Gwen player. On the other side, both junglers heading towards the bot side of the Rift. Fuk1 with a full clear on top side, while Killer Queen actually skipped one of the camps, the Gromp. So Fuk1 able, Killer Queen able to invade here. Can he find the enemy jungler? It looks like he wants to go for a mid gank instead.
Yeah, Jane might be in trouble here. That should be a flash at least.
Okay, Killer Queen actually flashing on top of him. Jane, one more auto attack. That's the first blood. Actually going to the red buff for Killer Queen. Not the worst. Glory didn't even flash to get the last hit, so very good restraint shown from Glory this time around. He could have greedy flashed for the kill there. Just flash auto take or flash E to secure the kill for Cassiopeia. Instead, it's going to go over to Killer Queen. And what a cool aggressive play from the Lee Sin, just flashing on top of Jane to make sure that there was no chance of getting away. Engaged in the bot lane for put in, and Vit under a little bit of pressure, but walks away to his tower. Burns the ignite from TQ. Should be fine to just chill under tower and secure some of the last hits coming in.
Yep, he should be shitting, and as you said, it was a nice play from Killer Queen that we can see again, and he ward jumps for the first time here to avoid that ward that was placed earlier by Jaden and spotted, and then he uses the second ward he gets actually to... No, he actually flashes in just, and forces the flash, then Qs, and Jane gets run down in the end. The red buff gets the kill, which is okay, especially if Killer King can slowly snowball that further. Now he's just walking into lane, smiting the Ken minion, which means they would just want to shove out. They want to get Vit his reset and make sure that he can't be all in again.
Yeah, and Fuk1 should take notes of this game. Look at what Killer Queen is doing early on, because Killer Queen is both ganking and helping his lanes at the same time, while Fuk1 is just kind of running around at jungle creeps. Definitely early. Okay, Glory using his flash now. This could be a kill. Does he land another Q? Oh, and there it is. Solo kill for Glory. What an amazing display of discipline in the mid lane and timing, because Glory didn't flash for the early kill. He knew, if I have flash advantage here, I can just chase for the kill, and that's horror for Jane. He was supposed to be the one holding back all the short-range champions, and now he's 0-2 in the early game.
Yep, and I think that's the point where, as a mid laner, you just blame your jungler and go next. I think, yeah, I mean, obviously, like, he misplayed it, and great play from Glory. I wouldn't even blame Jane really for it. It's just completely unplayable if Cassiopeia has flash and you don't. You basically have to use your spells on the wave, or you're not gonna have push, and if you use them, you just die anyway. So, well played from Glory, and good punish there, but also... where is Fuk1? He's still missing. I think he went the EU away and just disappeared for a split.
Oof. It seems to be a Flash thing. Flash junglers just going away. But Fuk1, yeah, he's full clearing on Vi. Maybe not the thing you do. Maybe you should just play Karthus, Mr. Fuk1.
Yeah, I mean, like, either you play a champion that actually likes full clearing. Like you said, Karthus, Lilia, right? Any of those champions. Yeah. Like, do something, like, pick something where if you full clear, you're actually useful, or play something like Vi and do something, or at least like counter gank or anything. But like playing Vi and watching, just not the thing.
Ooh, I like the sidestep from Vid very much. TQ, and that is probably a death from TQ. Yeah, he can't do anything. What a cool outplay. Vid really stepping up in the last week of play. We always criticized him. He's one of the players I have the hugest doubts about in the ADC position. Definitely not on the same level as Artemis or Shogun or Style. But really, these last 2 weeks, he's come into play and actually looked like a decent asset to his team. And what a nice little mechanical outplay. TQ coming in, new support player for Flash, and gets punished in the 2v2. Everything going Wales' way all the time.
Yeah, I mean, this game already is looking really, really rough. About 2k gold advantage here for the side of Team Wales, and like, yeah, it's already started to go for a little pushy, but he's getting punished because Fuk1 for the first time is actually here, and now Jane is also there to punish, and Nagia should be dead.
Nagia in a lot of trouble, tries to use his mobility. No way! No way! Nagia, he is such a master of this champion. What a ridiculous mobility-loaded kid this is. He walks away. There is oh my god, the mental is shattered on the side of Flash. Look at their faces. TQ is disgusted with what he just witnessed on the top side of the map. Ay, ay, ay.
Can we go next?
I mean, there's no next. This is literally the last game of the split for Flash.
They all they want is just get the flight home, man. Like they're on the speedrun here. They're on the airport speedrun, doing the TSM right now. But I mean, what the hell was that? Like obviously Nagia played it really well, but how? Even if Nagia played it perfectly, there was no way that he should get out ever. And somehow he did, and now TQ is looking for Vit again. Last time TQ ended up dying for this. This time he gets the flash.
Yeah, this time he's forced to flash. Vid thought he was safe in lane because he's almost level 6, and then he has his ultimate, but good punish there. Understanding the breakpoints for the Xayah. Now, this is risky. I like CBL coming back because Xayah really needed him to secure this level 6 and also these minions. So nice to see CBL finally stepping back into lane. It cost 1 flash on the ADC, but they did have the pressure through the roam from CBL to now go for the free topside objective. So once again, Wales walking away with everything. They got first dragon, they got all the kills. Nagia didn't even die, and they have first herald as well. This game is just going downhill very quickly for Team Flash. Oh, Puddin needs to be careful. There are a lot of feathers behind him. But good flash ultimate for Fuk1 onto Vid. That's nicely done. Finally doing something, Fuk1 here, but they need to be careful. Glory arrived. Oh, that's Miasma. TQ is already dead. That's 1 kill back. 1 for 1 in the end. Okay, CBL gets caught. 1 auto attack. CBL, come on, we can sidestep that. But Glory on the other side punishing Fuk1. 2 kills to the Cassiopeia. She's now 3-0. And even though it's a 2 for 2, it just feels so bad for this team. Can Killer Queen land his Q? Yep, of course he can. Flash Q, that's Jane. Jane ticking down to the... Oh, yet another kill for Glory. What a masterclass on this Cassiopeia this game is.
It's a 4 Cassiopeia. She's gonna have a run of ages in the 9th minute probably. Whew. That's gonna be a rough one. And Herald comes down, gets platings into Vit as well. Yes, he died, and yes, he lost some CS, but he's completely fine in the game, especially brought back now by the platings. Gets 1 solo platings, gets 2 shared platings, and is absolutely back in it. And here we can see the bot fight again. Of course, Vit doesn't have the flash, so he had to insta ulti. And now Fuk1 with the flash ultimate onto the flashless and ultiless Vit, as easy as it gets. But Glory with the TP, being able to come in, gets the first one, and then the further fight. And that CBL survives this, flashes out, and then doesn't sidestep is a bit... he got...
Yeah, he was stuck. Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. He needed to go to the left side kind of before the skill shot even was fired, so it looked a little worse than it was in the end, because once he decided to go upwards, he was dead already. So yeah, I flamed him a little too hard. He could have probably lived if he decided beforehand to go to the left, but in the end, it's 1 kill back to put in.
If he expects... the engage comes in CBL with the punishment, but... Nice play here from Puddin. Cleanse plus E saves him.
And now Team Wales is so strong on the bot side, they can kind of do whatever they want. Killer Queen missing the Q, it's not gonna be good. And Fook1 once again on Vid. Vid doesn't have his ultimate, a few seconds, but they kill Vid in time. Now, CBL, there is a counter-engage possibility. Look at the HP bar for Glory, he's so tanky, but CBL isolated. 2 kills over for Puddin. There's some fight left in Flash. They don't want to go quietly into the off-season. This is potentially their last game, this split, and they want to make it count. Nice double kill for Puddin, their main carry of the team, but Killer Queen still fancies the steal. They're running back in, the mid-jungle duo, they're so scary, and Fook1 gets caught. That should be an easy kill for the Cassiopeia. Kick a little questionable, and Fook1 actually walking away. Very good dodge, he gets another Q, and Fook1 is out.
Yeah, somehow he survives. I'm not sure why Killer Queen didn't just kick early. Or it doesn't kick at all after Glory, but he I think thought that he would tick down. In the end, Glory doesn't have the damage, but only has the Rod of Ages at the moment, which of course gives some AP, but isn't the master class of AP that of course the next 2 to 3 items are going to bring to this Cassiopeia. So we're still in a position where good play here from Team Flash, and now you have not only 4-0 Cassiopeia on the one side, but Puddin on a 4-0 Zeri, and that means that she's gonna be much stronger in the last game, and we saw what she could do in the last game. It was so close in some of the team fights, and this time there's no Malphite ult, which is a huge win.
Yeah, I guess that is true. I mean, it's still a very rough situation on the map, but Team Flash has recovered a bit. 4-0 Zeri should also do a little bit of work, right? So 4-0 Cassiopeia against 4-0 Zeri. Who do you trust here?
I think both can carry games easily. I just think that due to the range advantage that overall Team Flash's comp has with Puddin, it should be easier for Team Flash to make that for Zeri work, because Cassiopeia has to get really close, and I feel like Team Flash doesn't have to get that close, while Team Wales comp doesn't really have a choice. They have to move in close. Every champion's being outranged by Zeri, which means that they should be able to Zeri should just be able to run them over.
Yeah, hopefully we can see something like that. Team Flash definitely would be nice to see them contesting a playoffs team as their last hurrah in the split. And also, as we heard in the break, we didn't want to bring it up, but it's kind of important here. Team Flash could actually still fall into relegations with the new tiebreaker rules. So a win today against Wales would secure their spot in Summer Split. They're still very far away from actually securing that win, being down a game and some gold in this game, facing a 4-0 Cassiopeia. But it might be the comeback they could mount here to secure their spot in the Summer Split. That's another engage, double, ooh, that's triple engage and Glory, but he's so tanky, and now the counter, that's really nicely done from Killer Queen, that's a kill on Fook1. Fook1, no chance to flash away, what a nice counterplay, and that's the problem with Cassiopeia. You can get on top of her, she's immobile, but she has so much HP to work with these early items, and she's only gonna get tankier later on in the game, so a counter kill, very nice reaction for Killer Queen, flash ulting him into his own tower, and that's yet another kill for the side of Team Wales.
I'm not sure if have Fook1 and TQ actually heard about stacking CC or not stacking CC, I guess, because they use their entire CC chain at the same time. So Glory could get out really early and really quickly, and of course, like he probably wouldn't have died anyways, but I think they should have gone in with the goal of getting Glory's flash and getting out. In the end, Lee Sin was there to cover, and the punishment came in. Fook1 again dies. And I wanted to say that Fook1 has significantly more assists than deaths this time, because in the last game it was always a fight between the two. Does he have more assists? Does he have more deaths? I think he ended with more deaths than assists. In this game, he's trying the same thing again.
Yeah, you are really out there for Fook1.
I'm out here. I bring the hate for Fook today, but I mean, like when he does something nice, I'm gonna say it as well. Like if you run it down, I'm gonna flame you, and if you play nice, I'm gonna say it as well. And today, sadly, not so many nice plays, and maybe he can turn it around. On the other hand, Killer Queen had his number the entire game as well and was completely dominating him and playing it really nicely as well on the Lee Sin, which was of course to be expected because Killer Queen's Lee Sin is disgustingly good. But Still, I mean, credit where credit is due. He is also abusing Food One really nicely.
Yeah, and speaking of Killer Queen, yesterday we had a little bit of a discussion about our placings for some of the positions, and it's actually kind of hard, this split, to decide on some. I think Jungle is pretty unanimous for first place. Levi has really come back together to his main form, and especially on something like the Wukong, he has looked incredible. But number 2 in the jungle is not easy to decide, and one of the candidates is definitely Killer Queen, who has had a different split. He was known to be the most aggressive player in the whole league and going crazy every game. He has really toned down the aggression but kept some of the mechanical prowess, and it really comes to fruition in games like these where he's active but he's not overstepping too much. 2-0-1 now, and he's looking for yet another approach on Yoshino. Speaking of Yoshino, 1 item under his belt. And you talked about the Cassiopeia being the one champion he needs to worry about, and unfortunately that Cassiopeia is now 4-0, so I'm not sure about the Gwen being a win condition anymore.
I mean, she definitely is. I think if she is in the right position in team fights, she can still carry fights, but it's just the whole map was burning, and your bot lane is kind of like... I mean, your bot lane and top lane are kind of looking at your mid-jungle duo and asking themselves why they're still here. Because... I mean, like, bot lane has been winning. They're 4-0. They're in a great position. They're up 20 CS, and they are the Zeri lane. This Zeri is absolutely fed. She has 2 items, probably before 20 minutes, which is really early for Zeri. And then Yoshino is up CS, is trying his best, is really trying to just farm himself up. And mid jungle decided to not let the side lane scale whatsoever.
Yeah, and this play in top lane was so nice, we get to see it right again for some reason, because YouTube decided to just jump back 20 seconds in time. I'm sorry, this just happens on the VCS stream for sometimes. I'm not entirely sure why, but nothing really comes of it. Nagia playing on the weak side here of the map, really nice, not actually opening himself up to be dived upon. So Nagia, once again, understanding his role in the game, sacrificed a few CS and probably the tower going down. But in the meantime, his team already on the offensive again. This might be a 2-tower push, as Flash is failing to react in time. No, Wales playing it safe, only 1 tower, but that's better than nothing.
Yeah, and they got the charge on the second one, so damage on tier 2 is done, and any push with any wave should now kill it really quickly. And right now they don't have to fight. I mean, especially for Xayah, just getting that second item is so important. And so I have a question, right? So last game you went for Gale Force, and you were playing against like a super tank, right? And this game you go for Kraken Slayer when you're playing into no tank.
I mean, this is something I always bring up, but Riot is just lying to you when they say Kraken Slayer is an anti-tank item. It is objectively not. True damage that doesn't scale with HP is actually better against squishy targets, because it's a higher percentage of their HP that the true damage is. So it's just a higher DPS item. It has nothing to do with tank shredding. But
yes and no, but like you need more DPS into tanks.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I do agree with that.
Helps you killing tanks.
I do agree.
And like in this game, I feel like Gale Force could be really nice because you have good spells to dodge actually. Especially getting away from the Gwen, getting away from the Rakan can be so important with the Gale Force. So I would have understood the Gale Force play in this game, where I wasn't too happy about it in the last game. So I'm surprised about the itemization. Maybe if it was like, I should have built it last game, so in exchange I'm gonna build it this game.
Yeah, Gale Force looks really nice into the likes of Gwen, where she's slightly out of your auto attack range, maybe, with her Hallowed Mist. You can Gale Force into the Hallowed Mist and just kill her. As Killer Queen finds himself completely out of position, almost gets away, but a good shutdown, good collapse from Team Flash. There's no objective they can really go for, unfortunately, but it's still a nice little kill, getting the shutdown on the Lee Sin, who had Flash available, just completely eliminating him from the map, which will give Flash a little bit of control, a little bit of time to reassign their side lanes. And look at that! That's 2 solo laners in the side lane for a 6th place team. But now TQ has overstepped his welcome, has to flash away. Fuquan and TQ in the back of the Baron Pit. What are they doing over here? TQ still in trouble and just gives up a free kill on the other end. Unfortunate. I just praised them for getting the collapse, but then they give it away with yet another unnecessary death.
Yep, but still a good play from them, and this time the GZ train onto Killer Queen was set twice. They failed it, once onto Nagia, once onto Glory, but this time they actually managed to get the full CC chain onto them. Killer Queen now tries to go for Yoshino. Yoshino with the ghost, and W gets to just run away, being the Gwen, of course. And about 2k gold lead still for Team Wales. Nothing has really changed for the past about 7 minutes. So they're in a fine spot on Team Flash's side right now, and Team Wales I actually wants to get the advantage larger, and Fook1 is now being engaged by Killer Queen. One thing I have to say though is I think Pudding is going for not for Infinity Edge, and I would have liked him to see him with the Infinity Edge, just going full damage because he has to 1v9 this game.
Yeah, I always like it. I mean, we don't ever see Infinity Edge these days in Zeri. It seems like really all the Zeris I see, at least in the VCS, always go for Navori.
Yeah, in the VCS, they always go for Navori,
Yeah,
but
every
like
single game.
in other leagues, I see Infinity Edge a lot. Like LPL is going Infinity Edge probably 60-70% of the time.
Yeah, I personally
Europe
like
and so on
Infinity
as well.
Edge, but
Yeah.
it seems like VCS has just agreed on Navori, so it's not surprising whatsoever to see this yet again. Of course, gives nice ultimate damage and a lot of cooldown reduction and stuff like that, W damage. So it's definitely not a bad item, but the highest individual auto attack damage is definitely on the IE. So this Zeri is more trying to do AoE damage with all her ultimate stacks and so on. Might come in handy against all those short-range targets. Like, if you get a good angle on your ultimate auto attacks and hit both Glory and Vid, then maybe the Navori is better than the IE, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely Angus for Navori, and it's not like it's a bad item on
Exactly.
Zeri whatsoever. It's just, as you said,
This can't
Infinity
work,
Edge
right?
gives you max damage, and Fook1. I mean, I don't hate the idea. It's just, let's try it, and maybe enemy team falls asleep. We don't lose anything. Team Wales wasn't asleep at the wheel, so it ends up not working, but they didn't really lose anything, and they couldn't have contested Drake anyways. So, fair enough. TQ now looking to top side, trying to clear out some vision, but not to be that guy. I don't think you're able to kill Nagia.
Nagia needs to run away, but he can, because he's Cassante, even in his not all-out form. And now the counter-engage. CBL with a huge knock-up at Nagia is looking for the angle. They can't really do it, but now inside track for the mid-tower. I think that's the target for Wales. I really like their quick shot calling, because it seems like the macro in this game is much more precise when it comes to just calling where they have to go. Just instant decision to get the inside track on mid-tower, and even though the fight looked like it could have been better, they do get a tier 2 mid-tower. They did get the dragon as well. And now they're fancying a Baron, it looks like.
Yep, they're starting it up now, but Fook1 in position to maybe steal Zeri's on the way. This could be the win, or this could be the lose, because if Zeri gets an AC, it's over.
Oh, there's Fook1. He can't get the seal, and he has to flash out. That's a Baron. 5 members walking away. Puddin used his ultimate. He needs to get in there. His ultimate is ticking away if he can't auto-attack. Puddin lost his ultimate. They can't fight anymore, so now Team Wales should get out with all 5 Baron buffs available. Just winning everything on the map. Dragon into mid-tower, into Baron. Team Wales has found the exploit in the middle of the game again, and now off to a 4k gold lead. 2 dragons to 2. They are looking like the stronger team for the whole series. This is risky, though. That was a bit of a weird teleport. Nagia now half HP. Oh, he might have thrown away his life. Nope, never mind. I always get fooled by Cassante, because he can always get away. 5 mobility spells are quite nice to have.
Absolutely, and one thing I have to say is that Nagia completely saved Team Wales there at the Nash, because there was a Yoshino in perfect position for a triple ultimate on all 5 members. He hit the first one, he slowed them all down, which would have meant that Pudding can get into range as well. But Nagia, being able to just ult him out, making sure that Yoshino was completely sent away, and meaning that they couldn't get to Team Wales anymore, and that now means that Team Wales with 5 Nashs is gonna be able to shove down side lanes and mid lane. And I mean, also, this entire play started with Team Flash doing a really weird call where they went over the wall trying to catch Killer Queen, and just Killer Queen jumped out and was asking them what the hell, what are you doing? And then a really nice turnaround from Team Wales to punish them.
Yeah, it's quick decision making, which is always good to see. Now, Nagia doesn't have his ultimate. This time he might actually be dead. He's still trying to scuttle away, and here's the support. Very good W to block the Q damage. Nagia still really close to dying, but oh my god, he gets away again. Nagia is just the master of Cassanti escapes on the weak side the whole game, but he hasn't died a single time, and what a performance on this champion. I wanted to see him win because I really think he's so amazing on this champion. His win rate doesn't tell the story, but now 8th game of the split, and 1-0-1, Nagia showing up on the tanks, back-to-back tank performances that can definitely speak for themselves.
I mean, you two, I said they shouldn't look for engages all the time, and you said they're not going to be able to hold themselves back. You were right.
I know this.
And also the target calling, I don't understand. Like, we're like the people we've tried to catch is Lee Sin, Nagia, Nagia. And once we tried to get to the glory, got his flash and then never tried it again.
Yeah, it's true. It's a bit of a... I don't know how to call it. It's a bit of a solo queue-esque performance where you just go see hero, kill hero, and don't actually think about what resources are available. It's not very coordinated in the way they try to set up the picks. I definitely agree with you. He ghosted just to get back to the minion wave. Nagia is really trying his best to make an impression. Unfortunately, he can't save the tower. He's still very fast. The ghost is still running. And there comes Lori from the other side. Lori is here. They didn't expect Lori to be here. Nagia gets yet another kill. Lori will be able to chase down TQ as TQ gets slowed again. No, there's the flash, but Killer Queen is there. Nice execute on the Q. We know Killer Queen's Qs on the Lee Sin are heat-seeking as always, and this game is looking more and more Team Flash. They might go 6-0 on the week.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a clean game. It's a clean game from them, for sure. I think one or two mistakes maybe, but I think that is completely understandable. And on the other side, Flash, I mean, again, they showed that they can do something early, especially through the bot lane. Pudding and Yoshino, I think, have shown that they are better than what their scoreline shows and also what the team brings to the table. And there's the support stuff that those two have is just, it's miserable to watch, honestly.
Yeah, TQ coming in here, last game of the split for Flash, very likely now, and not really showing up. I feel like both of his games have been struggles, both on Rakan as well, which is the premier support in this meta, and you should always be able to have a decent Rakan, so maybe it's a bit too early to integrate TQ in the team. Of course, they will have a little bit of time after this series, especially, I mean, they still have to worry about relegations now that tiebreaker rules are actually here. And if Cerberus does not win later today, they will very likely have to play a best of 3 again later this week or next week to decide who of Team Secret and Flash goes into the relegation. But I feel like TQ, if they can avoid a relegation or even get back into the league, he might need a little bit more time, maybe a little bit more time to build synergy with Puddin or just in solo queue to get better. For me, Sora has looked like the better support between those two, and this was more an experiment to give him a little bit more time at the end of the split.
Yep, absolutely, and maybe also, I mean, the thing is that I feel like support's also really reliant on jungler, right? And if your jungler's already a problem and you randomly throw in the support, it's so hard for him to do anything. Puddin now getting engaged on by Killer Queen, fighting back, trying to kill the Lee Sin, and so far being able to.
Yeah, Puddin now. Oh, Puddin right into Nagia. That's so sad to see. Really cool how Team Wales is able to set up the flanks on the composition that wasn't actually supposed to flank. Last game they didn't flank at all, but it worked as well. So Team Wales just experimenting with team fighting a bit. And I'm so impressed. Every game I watch, I just feel like Nagia is starting to really put his name in the conversation for best top laner. I already am kind of on the train for him. And Lori needs to be very careful. He is not dealing any damage to Yoshino. Weirdly enough, Yoshino not trying to chase him down. Maybe still scared of the potential in Lori's damage. He's a Cassiopeia. He's level 17. He has 4 items. So maybe the correct decision by Yoshino as he teleports out. And now Flash. Still trying to make everything they can work for them. There is the Baron started, and that's Yoshino with a lot of damage on the Baron. They might be able to walk away with this one, as Wales is too slow to react. So a little bit of a steal on the top side of the map. They get the Baron, Team Wales. One more fighting chance. TQ is stuck in the wall though. He's gonna go down. Sacrificial Lamb doesn't really matter too much. Flash still walk away with the objective. Or will they? Uh-oh, Glory is back here, and Nagia is also on the other side. That's put in, caught out again. Nagia with yet another kill. Can they chase down Fook1 for another Baron buff? It doesn't look like Fook1 just slowly but surely walking away to his own base. They got the Baron, but at what cost? 2 people dying. Mid lane is already under siege. That's gonna be an inhibitor if they play their cards correctly. To Team Wales doesn't stop 1 second, even after losing the big purple worm to the enemy team.
Honestly, Yoshino for Saigon Buffalo. I'm gonna say it.
I don't disagree. We talked about this yesterday too.
It's just, I mean, it's like Saigon needs a better top laner, and Yoshino needs a team, and I think it could be good. Anyways, yeah, I mean, Yoshino was really trying his best. I'm not sure where the call for the Nash came from, but whoever made it was really smart. And then, of course, we grieved for the red buff because the red buff is so important in the 31st minute that you have to die for it. And we end up doing so. So, yeah, I mean, Team Flash also looks really dysfunctional. Like, they don't really care anymore. It feels like, you said it earlier, it feels like solo queue. It feels like they're just running at enemy and they're not really talking and they don't really want to be here, but they kind of have to. And it's how it feels like looking from the outside, because... Yeah, I mean,
I do like this call. This Nash call is showing that they do not.
It's a great Nash call.
Exactly.
But then we jump over the wall and go for the red buff. And what are we doing? Like.
And look at how tanky Glory is yet again. Good stopwatch usage as well. And Nagia just able to chase down Puddin. Puddin can't do anything there. Now Yoshino under attack, but he should be able to just run away. Right, he has Ghost as well if he needs to use it. Team Wales, I mean, Flash is only 5k gold down at 32 minutes. They should maybe be able to force yet one more team fight. And look at the items. That's a decent set of items for Yoshino and 4 items done for Puddin. So if everything goes well, maybe they do have a fighting chance in this game, even to inhibitors down.
I mean, they can win team fights. They have to execute them well. They have to let Puddin cook. Puddin, of course, doesn't have the flash. In this game, though, not as important as in the last game. And now we see Fook1. He's on the flank. He wants to go for Killer Queen.
But where's the damage?
Isolated. He doesn't have friends.
Yeah, he doesn't have any damage behind that engage. That's a toothless approach there, as Team Wales just walks in the minion wave and will have the 3rd inhibitor. You need to fight now. Oh, good engage on Fook1 this time, and Yoshino is in no man's land. Somehow Yoshino ended up in the enemy team and just died instantly. And there's Lori with a Flash ultimate. Not the greatest. And now Flash actually in a decent position. Vid, though, firing and chasing down the enemy ADC. Still has his E. That was really nicely done from Vid, showing his prowess. Triple kill for this ADC. There has caught so many strays in some of the games Wales played against some of the better ADCs. He was the problem, but really not for the rest of this split. The last 2 weeks, Vid has done an amazing job. Ends the game with a quadra kill to his name, and Wales with a perfect last week, finishing at 6-0 and securing 9 wins to their name.
All I can say is, and I do believe that, I don't think that Fook1 and Jane actually talk to each other. Because Jane just put a wall and wants to engage on the 4-man unit, and then TQ and Killer Queen are just TQ and Fook1 are just trying to kill Killer Queen on the side. It made no sense the last team fight. Like, either you go on the 4-man unit with Talia ult, or you go on Killer Queen, but you try to go on both, and then you have damage for the one side and CC for the other. And I don't think this team actually functionally talks with each other or has the same game idea, I guess, in game.
Yeah, we have to cut. I want to cut them a little bit of slack. I mean, Wales has looked really strong this week, and Flash are on the downturn a bit, and also looking at an off season. Now they have to worry, as I said earlier, about the relegations. We'll see if Team Secret is able to win against Cerberus, which would make for 2 very interesting scenarios that we talk about. We will talk about in detail later on, but let's have another look at this game's stat line as we have them on screen right now. It was a pretty dominant game, but we actually see Zeri dealt most damage in the game, so Puddin was really fighting for his life. Of course, one of the exciting rookies coming into this league. And yeah, he tried to go out with a bang. It wasn't quite enough to carry his team, but I feel like he at least stood up for himself individually.
I mean, honestly, if you look at this Team Flash roster and you look at Putin as a rookie, I think you can be really happy with his performance, and he's definitely somebody who should be back in the league in summer. Either with Flash if they don't go into relegation, or even with one of the other teams. I think he showed a really good performance under very hard circumstances, especially as a rookie. And then obviously Yoshino on the top lane showed today that he didn't need to be scared from Nagia. Even though he had counter picks, great matchup. It's something that you can lose into the K'Sante for sure, if you don't know how to play it and if the K'Sante is good. So he looked very nice in that matchup, very, very strong in that matchup. So I think overall, I think those two should definitely be back. I think Jane has shown some promise at some points. I think the support situation for them, they have to kind of figure out who to play. I think Sora looked decent. He wasn't a great support, but maybe that's enough. And get yourself a new jungler and maybe you actually have a shot to get a bit more.
Yeah, I know one of our members here in the VCS team really likes their substitute jungler, Ikigai. Maybe he comes back in summer. Maybe they acquire Bean J or someone. Who knows? We don't know where Flash is gonna go. But I want to close out the series with a few words about Wales, because they have been really impressive now in the back half of the split. 6-0 this week, as I said earlier. Okay, their opponents weren't the strongest, but they did 2-0 Saigon Buffalo, who are also on the upturn at the start on Wednesday actually, and they looked very dominant doing that. They also 2-0 Team Secret, which, okay, that's a relegation team, and now Flash as well. So, but you can also only beat what's in front of you, and they are going to go into the playoffs with a lot of momentum, with a lot of confidence. They were able to take a game of Gum earlier this split, and of course, they are eyeing that title. Killer Queen has now been in the league for a while. Glory has been in the league for a while. It's time for them to make their names known to everyone in the playoff situation. Second playoffs, of course, after winter 2021. So this was the last series. Tim, what do you think is Wales' chance of actually making finals and maybe even playing a decent series against Gum, making them sweat for the title?
I'm not 100% sure about the playoff format. Is it double elim again, or is it single elim?
I'll check. It kind of changes every time.
Yeah, because last year it was both. In
Yeah,
spring,
this
I think
time
it
it's
was single
double
elim.
elim, even in spring, which is really nice to see. So
Okay.
they're going to have two chances, and if they secure a high enough spot, which they are on track to do because they're now 9 series wins, they will have a good chance at avoiding Gum in the first round. So they could
Yeah.
see them in the finals, well, winner bracket finals, I should say, which would be the second stage of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think outside of GAM, I think they have a good shot of just making an impact. I think their team fighting specifically looks on point. They have to figure out the support situation. Obviously, I like B more. I think B is probably the best roaming support in the league. And he brings so much early game pressure that was really missing against Team Flash today, right? Those
Yep.
early levels, the roams from B, they were just missing. So I'm not sure why he wasn't playing today. Maybe he was ill, whatever. We don't know, but I kind of want to see him going towards playoffs, and then I think they have a good shot of just being the second best team. I don't think they have a massive shot of beating GAM. I think the team that was actually closest to doing that was Saigon Buffalo in summer last year, and I think
They
GAM is
did.
back to. Yeah, I mean they beat GAM, but they didn't win the split. So,
Well,
like beating GAM is one thing, winning the split is another, and I think even if a team can go into winners finals and again take a win from GAM, I don't think it's going to be enough to win the split. I think GAM is just gonna come back from losers and stomp at whoever.
we have seen them do that before, that's for sure. For now, we have to say goodbye to actually both of these teams. Last series they played. We, of course, will see Wales next week in the playoffs. We won't see Flash in a while unless we go into that weird tiebreaker situation. And to see if that's going to happen, we have to keep our eyes on the next series, because next series is going to be Cerberus against Secret. And if everything aligns perfectly, this series could actually make for 2 playoff series. So stay tuned. This is by no means over yet. This could be a very important series, and especially for Secret, they are fighting for their lives. With Flash losing this series, they now have a chance to tie Flash on 5 wins and fight their way out of relegation. So we're going to hit this short little break, maybe about 25 minutes, and then be back with series number 2 of day number 4 and the last week of regular season. It's gonna be Cerberus against Team Secret in a bit. See ya.